Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest.
Yeah, you got no one. Yeah, they blew right. I didn't even
I think we're.
You got an extra one?
Oh, yeah, how many do you need? 3?
Are you gonna put this in the news and views? No? I know we didn't see anything in news and views.
You got, okay, yes, yep, do that kind of thing.
Kiss and bring arm bearers.
Kind of, or baseball?
Did you? Okay.
Yes.
We're still debating. We're trying to decide.
If they want to play or not?
No, none of the older players have the time that they need, so.
I didn't think you'd want to go to mother-son dance, but she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I better get on and buy those tickets.
That's what they were talking about the daughter.
Oh, I'm sure they
I think
did.
she said 340 kids,
So we'll see what they do.
Oh, wow.
which means they had roughly 600 people.
Not that it's gonna stop it, it's more or less. So,
Yeah, and they have this the first one they did.
Oh, since COVID?
$5,000 to the OBS on the proposal.
Sit in front. Nobody wants to sit in front. Joe's gonna create a new front, so then people will sit by Jason.
Yeah.
You were always in front.
I always hate when people go down. I have to see my knee or
You made it so though when I hit the house, I had to say the front because I was so distracted by You married your dad?
Just right here. This is that.
Yeah, but now.
Yeah, back some, back there.
Fine?
Oh, yeah.
No, round trip.
What?
Round trip, you want to change?
Yes, flying out Saturday and back Saturday.
Usually start on
Unless I decide it's done. No, flying out is fine. Because then there's a direct flight into Mesa. My parents really, the Phoenix airport is too big for them. They don't like driving to it anymore. So. Oh, I
Plant some miniature trees, it'll take 10 years to grow.
Yeah, I don't think it's not like clear it where they like charge you to take out the seat, charge you for your bag, charge you for air breathe on the plane. So, I really had thinking, I went to a regular, a bigger airline in Phoenix and then just Uber, like out of the airport, from the airport, and then I could just so next year, that's what I'm gonna do. But,
There's so many dangers to that.
it is, it's a weekend. We go like Wednesday, Thursday,
I don't know, I'm just.
You're just one. You I think these were. Yeah, we found
Call the meeting to order, we'll start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Where?
We can. Start with Julie. We're gonna do introductions here.
Julie Daly, clerk.
Joe Parker, trustee.
Pete Miller, supervisor.
John Ernest, trustee.
Amanda Bonneville, treasurer.
Now approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda for February 16th, Township monthly meeting. Any additions or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Start with call to the public. It's 3 minutes, you're allowed. Give us your concerns, that type of stuff. It's not a question and answer period. We'll start over here. Try to come across so we can hopefully we'll get everybody. Les, you got anything? No. Anybody over that way? Well, you're not going to sit
Am I
there.
far enough over that way?
Yeah.
We can buy.
Now you didn't check it out, did you?
No,
Okay.
I just had to get ready. I wasn't ready. Sarah Porter. I'm from Conway. Last night at the County Planning Commission meeting, they reviewed the Handy Township solar ordinance. The township retained Michael Homier, who helped write that ordinance. The ordinance includes such items as not being allowed on PA 116 land, no more than 20% total area to be covered, must be located on property 20 acres or more, must have a setback of 500 feet on all property lines, the noise generated must not exceed 40 dBA L max, drain tiles must be inspected by means of robotic camera every 3 years, liability insurance of $10 million per occurrence, financial security bonds equal to 125% of the total estimated cost of decommissioning, reviewed every 2 years, along with other legal clauses that will protect the township and its residents. The county commissioners made a few recommendations that included additional safeguards and found the ordinance to proactively protect the community while allowing this renewable energy source to operate at well-defined locations within the township. It also noted that the solar amendments were well-written and served to strengthen the ordinance standards for private and commercial solar energy systems, even stating that it is an ordinance that other townships can use as a model. The residents of this township are asking you to review the current ordinance to include many of the previously listed safeguards. The ordinance, as written today, is inviting developers to your township, which will likely result in a solar tsunami. Requesting that you limit your ordinance to the demonstrated need of this township while meeting the energy initiative set by the state will in effect meet the needs of some of the farmers that would like to participate in these programs, which in effect will also meet some of the many residents that do not agree that this land use should decommission our farmland and take over the townships. This is not an unreasonable request. I truly hope that this board has a better understanding of the difference between property rights and land use. At least 2 of your commissioners at Tuesday's meeting did not seem to understand that concept. Their comments about land rights explain how the current ordinance exists today, which lacks many details and leaves your residents unprotected. The very boards you serve determine what we can all do with our property. You do this through zoning. These projects are no different. It is not about telling farmers what they cannot do with their property. It's about telling them what they can do through your zoning ordinances. We all get one vote with no regard to how much acreage we own and no regard to how long we've lived here. Up until this point, you did the best you could with the information you had at the time. With the additional information now available, we are asking you to do better. Today, you are at a fork in the road. You have within your power to listen to your residents and act in good faith on their behalf. But please be clear. The road you are currently traveling on ends in negligence. Negligence to the very people you took an oath to serve, to protect their health, safety, and welfare. Negligence in your fiduciary duties to serve the majority of your residents and not just the few who are set to gain financially from these projects. I implore you to pause. Hire Mr. Homier, immediately put a moratorium in place, and amend your ordinance to protect all of the residents. Thank you.
Did that come from the commissioners? What you were reading?
I wrote that whole, you want a copy?
Yeah, did you?
It came from their agenda last night, verbatim.
If you want to send it to me.
Yep, you can send it to
I'll give
Julie.
you a copy tonight.
Okay.
And I even have the county planning
Yeah.
commissioner thing if
Yeah.
you want that too.
Please.
Yep.
Thank you so much,
You're
Sarah.
welcome.
Anybody from her over? Go ahead.
So she's done such a good job, I'm gonna be pretty short. I'm Mike Brown, I'm also from Conway Township. So, I was looking through your website and stuff, and I see that for solar, you have four pages of things on solar. But for off-road parking and off-road loading, you have almost 5 pages of ordinances. I'm not quite sure why you don't understand the severity of what this is happening. This is a major power plant that is coming your way. Solar or whatever, it is a major power plant with long-term effect. I have an article that's going to be in the paper this weekend. I truly hope you all read it. Thank you very much.
Anybody else here? Yes, ma'am.
So I am from Iosco Township, I live on Deacon Hill Road. My name is Kristen Smith, and I would like to request to the township to take a 1-year moratorium to rework your ordinance and tighten it up. I've lived here my entire life. Most of us all live here because we love our countryside, we love our wildlife, and we certainly do not want to see it overtaken by solar farms. I think it was you I chatted with when I paid my taxes, and
That would be me.
you were okay. You said, hey, yeah, I think one's going to be right next to me, and you're okay with it, but I'm not okay with it, and I know a lot of people here aren't okay with it either, so I would just really ask, tighten it up, please. Put a pause on it for a little while. Thank you.
sorry to interrupt the meeting. The gentleman that owns the property across the street by the old school is asking if whoever's parked on his property could please go move their vehicles. I explained to him that we're kind of short on parking tonight, but he's insisting. I'm just here to keep the peace in the messenger, so if you park over there, please move your vehicle.
If somebody's gotta move, we're gonna have
No.
another call public later on.
Oh, I would like to present my, I'd like to be a call to public. Can I speak?
Yeah, we're not
Well,
done.
we're
He's
not-
just saying
haven't
that
come
if
across
somebody
that far
needed to
yet.
come to
You're
move
a
their
minute.
car.
Oh,
You just, yeah.
Somebody else?
No one needs to move their car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sheree Mollison, I'm from Iosco Township. I lived here my whole life, family had a farm here my whole life. And I guess I trust our board to look into the whole situation and the zoning that might be needed here. But I must say, when I was growing up, the big problem from a farmer's standpoint, because we had a dairy farm, was people coming out and building houses on 10 acres of property, and my dad was always really worried about that part of zoning, because he was afraid we wouldn't have enough food to eat. And, so we're kind of coming full circle here now, and looks like everybody's being pretty reasonable, and I think we can reasonably get through this to look at what's good for everybody. I've been here a lot lately. I was jumping up and down about we all need broadband internet, and that's coming, because the world's changing. And my personal view is that we need to do energy in a different way. We signed away our mineral rights when we bought our acreage 30 years ago, which can grow. My dad used to always say you couldn't raise hell there with a jug of whiskey, so he didn't give us too much trouble for buying that property. So anyway, everybody keep their heads, and let's give it a good hard look for the future. And I trust these guys to do it, and I'm sure they'll look for a lot of input. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else goes on, we're going to this lady over here. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to do my best to talk. I don't have much of a
Okay.
voice.
I'm going to yell behind you, but that's all right.
No, that's okay.
You go ahead.
I'm Diana McFadden, and I'm in Iosco Township as well. I have a very close friend who's an appraiser, who's been in the area and lives in one of the other townships for over 30 years. And she's taken a look at the property values, and putting in these solar farms can be a 60 to 30% impact on our property values. And so I would like to ask that this is considered in the moratorium and tightening up our standards and looking at where the structure should be and not be. And just looking at this is a big factor in our home values, and everybody should be aware of that. I have a lot to read, but since I have no voice, I'm not going to read it all. And if you haven't visited, like, you can go to Lennon. The sound that comes from these is extreme. The amount of, the sightliness, to me it's a big concern because it's right around the corner for me. A lot of the areas are. So I would like to ask that you consider all the public comments, that you do a moratorium, and let's buckle this down a little tighter for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a question. Why didn't they let anybody know? I mean, do we have to come to board meetings to find this out?
Just read.
Pardon me?
Just read.
Read where?
Read. It's published in the paper all the time. Everything where the board is up to.
We don't deliver that
It's
paper in my house.
on our website.
We don't get the paper, unfortunately, so it was kind of a big thing when I found out about this. Are any of the owners here that own Burndale Farm, or any representatives?
You could say I'm a representative.
For Verndale?
Not for Burndale, but I farm the land,
You farm the land?
yes,
Well-
for them.
You farm the land for them? Because
Yes.
I probably see it, because I live just across the street, okay? And I think my major concern is the noise factor. You know, I wanted to make sure where these inverters are going aren't in front of my house. Because, we like to go out on the deck in the summer and, I don't know. But I think the noise factor for me is really the only thing that would bother me. If you want to if they want to destroy their property and put all kinds of footings in the ground and all kinds of concrete, 30 years from now, they'll probably be dead. And who knows, maybe a developer will come in by then and tear it all up and, be able to build on it again, but, I mean, do I want to look at solar panels? No. But I'm more concerned about the noise. Okay, and the frequency that it's putting out. And, you know, they can say 45 decibels, 46 decibels. Well, we're talking louder than that right now. But if I had 1,000 people in here talking at this same decibel, you'd be holding your ears. All right? Now, from what I understand, they're going to put these inverters every 5 acres. Do you guys have a layout of where they're going to be?
We've got no applications, we don't know if anybody's interested yet.
There's been no
Well, I
applications.
thought the land was leased already, that DTE leased it.
They may have, but no applications have been submitted to the township. We have no
So
plans, we have no
we're-
applications, we have nothing.
You have nothing.
We have nothing.
Your 3 minutes are about up.
All right, hey, she wants to talk now.
No,
This
lady
man
right,
behind you
no.
has been
Lady
waiting,
be
and
in.
everybody
She's
keeps
been
standing in
standing up
front of her.
15 times.
That's okay. You can't see. I've never been to one of these meetings before. I've never spoken publicly before. So this is a little different for me, but my name is Jacqueline Chalitz Hill, and I've grown up here also my whole life. My grandpa lived right there behind this old school, and I live next door to that now in the old Rediger house. We moved out here because we love it here, and my backyard is not my backyard. It's a farm field. It doesn't belong to me, and I understand that it doesn't belong to me, but it's my view. It's the nature that I see. I'm a photographer, professional photographer. I use my backyard to photograph portraits for people. But it's not just about that. I suffer from horrific migraines, and my biggest concern also is the noise and the problems that I've heard that people have with their health living around these things. And so I'm pretty distraught over even the thought of that happening in this area.
Thank you.
My name's Todd Hill. I live the same place she does, her husband. My concern is too, not only with the health issues and that, and I know how bad she suffers with migraines, is the wildlife. We have bald eagles that land in the backfield behind our house. They're protected by the national government. You know what the solar panels do to birds when they fly over? They fry them almost instantly. That's a fact. There's other wildlife that's going to go by these solar panels that are going to get fried instantly.
How would they get, I'm just curious, how do they get fried? I've never heard that one before.
Check into it. Check on the internet. They fly over top. The reflection of the sun off those solar panels fries them like that.
That's what happened?
And there are bald eagles all over the place in Livingston County. I'm a bird watcher. I see at least 2 or 3 a week.
Just curious. Ma'am.
My name is Ann Gaybauer. I'm a resident of Iosco Township. I've lived here for 20 some odd years. I'm originally from Huron County. I have some information. I attended another township meeting. Jay Drick was there, and he gave some recommendations for township ordinances to protect us for litigation purposes. So I'm not going to go through the details of it, but one of the issues was making sure that any litigation that occurred in regarding this topic was done in Livingston County and not maybe for, say, Texas or something. So this is an example of his, this is actually what he submitted. You can take one and pass it down. And his name and numbers on the bottom, so I won't pursue that any further. The next question, or the next set of stuff I have for you is there is an attorney that deals with writing zoning ordinances. His name is Michael Homier. I don't work for the guy. I just got his pamphlet, and so I have run this off, one for each of you. His credentials are his expertise is zoning and helping municipalities. I'd really like to see him hired for us. My background, I have a bachelor's in engineering, and I wanted to go through just a couple of things. Let me take one of these. Okay. In my concerns with the power plant in our current zoning ordinances. So I'll go real fast. These are just very top-level concerns that I have. Let's go to page 2. I looked at our zoning regulations, and we break things down by individual size for solar panel or for solar systems, and that's anything from 100 to 200 feet, okay? The next size is something that's less than 2/5 of an acre. And then what we consider to be a large-scale plant or system is anything greater than 1/4 of an acre. Okay, to me, there is an order of magnitude difference between 1/4 of an acre and an industrial power plant. Okay, next page, page 3. This is a block diagram of a power plant. We're very nice at specifying out what we need for an array farm, which is our solar panel farms, but we're not taking into account in our zoning ordinances these other parts that I can see. In particular, a near and dear subject to me is the one piece which is a battery bank system. My family owns land in Huron County. We were approached to put in a 30-acre battery assembly. 30 acres of electric batteries, okay? Needless to say, we are not doing this, but there's things like that that are not called out in our zoning ordinances as of the 14th of February. So we need to address these. Page 4, these are the parts. There's the array systems, there's the battery storage facilities, there's transformer stations, there's transmission lines, okay? Transformers, people have been talking about the sounds. The battery systems, if we have those, they should have fan systems. But, you know, it's just there's these other parts to our systems. And all we're looking at are just the arrays right now, okay? Next section, page 5. Regarding the arrays, I'm just going to give you one example of an issue. I've done research, and one of the materials that can be in these arrays, in these panels, is cadmium. I worked for the automotive company, and in the 90s, we regulated out cadmium out of our vehicles' parts, okay? Now, 30 years later, we're allowing these in our panels, and we're going to spread this over our land. Cadmium, if you go on to the next page, page 6, just from the CDC, I clicked a real fast thing here. Cadmium is a serious, it's a heavy metal, it's a carcinogen, okay? And the effects of it are just astronomical, okay? So that is an issue, just one, okay? You can specify that we don't have these toxic panels used in our township. We have water and wells and, you know, these things, if they break, we have leakage issues, contamination issues, okay? Next one, page 7 is, again, this is an example of what a battery storage facility could look like. There's fire concerns, as we all know, and so many of us are, you know, have volunteer fire department, you know, personnel, and let's be realistic. This is a very dangerous thing. These things can go into thermal runaway, okay, which is they feed themselves. So, you know, this needs to be addressed. So my last page is page 9. What I'd like to see, and I highly recommend, please look at hiring this attorney. Okay, he will help us write our zoning ordinances to protect us. And so, like I say, I just did a very top level look at this thing, and I have, you know, my concerns. So please look at this.
Anybody else?
So on Tuesday, I was here for the planning commission meeting, and I requested that they recommend to you guys to put in place a moratorium regarding wind and solar. I and many others believe that our ordinance is insufficient to protect all the residents, and it needs to be revised. While there was some pushback from the planning commission, ultimately they voted to recommend it to the board. I believe the PC was going to suggest a 3-month moratorium, but I think we can do a little better than that. I think it's going to take a little more time to get this right. Tonight, I'm here to ask you, the board, to please follow the recommendation and put in place this moratorium. While I appreciate that our planning commission and board tried to be proactive and worked on this ordinance for quite a while, after months of doing research on my own, I have come to the conclusion that our ordinance is only beneficial to the utilities, the solar developers, and large landowners. I would like to not dwell on the past and try to move forward and work together with the township to get this right, because ultimately, what we come up with is going to affect our children and our lives for many years to come. Now, I want to talk about a few of the specific items that I feel need revision. To start, our ordinance, like the other person said, is 4 pages long. 4 pages. It's next to nothing. White Oak Township has a 13-page solar ordinance and a 22-page wind ordinance. Andy has a 9-page solar ordinance, and Almer Township has an 18-page long ordinance. There's simply not even enough verbiage in our ordinance to protect any of us, including the large landowners. And to protect us all from the predatory corporations who don't care about us. Last night, I also attended the County Planning Commission meeting. The commissioners all agreed that with a couple additions to Handy Township's ordinance, that it was the most well-thought-out solar ordinance that they've seen. I would really like our ordinance to be considered a very comprehensive solar ordinance rather than the weakest one in our area. A couple other issues I'd like to discuss are the sound. We have no sound requirements in our ordinance. We all know that the inverters, make noise. I'm sure everyone's seen it on Facebook. I've been there. I know a lot of people have been there. They do make noise. Handy Township and Almer Township have both enacted a 40 decibel LMAX requirement on sound, meaning that that's the absolute max for sound allowed, not an average. So we don't have anything on sound in the solar ordinance, but our wind ordinance does have a requirement of 55 decibels, and that's way too high. All the research I've done, people say that is way too high. Not to mention that the way it's worded leaves a loophole large enough to drive a truck through. Setbacks. Currently, we have 75-foot setbacks from property lines and 200 feet from neighboring dwellings. Handy has 500-foot setbacks. Remember, the county commissioners thought that was a good setback. White Oak has 300-foot setbacks. Conway and Cohocton are both pushing for 1,000-foot setbacks. I'm not going to proclaim that I know which one's right. I just know that 200 feet isn't enough. We need even further setbacks from inverters, and the location of those inverters should be specified to the center of the project. I didn't see anything in our ordinance about setbacks from wetlands. The exclusion of PA 116 land, both White Oak and Handy Township have excluded land enrolled in PA 116 from being able to be used for utility scale solar. Almer Township limits the lot coverage for solar or large scale solar systems to 5% on PA 116 land. The county commissioners confirmed last night that the director of MDARD stated that it can be excluded. It is not a law that PA 116 must be allowed to be used for solar. It was just a policy change at the state level. Our screening requirements could be improved. We have nothing about screening the road right-of-ways, except where homes are on the other side of the street. We have nothing in our ordinance that addresses battery storage facilities, fire suppression, wildlife impacts, or maintenance plans. Marion Township is putting together an overlay. Handy Township is designating an area only in their research and development area, and I just don't understand why Iosco is allowing it on any agricultural land. We have no lot coverage restrictions. We have lot coverage restrictions for every zoning district in our township, and we even have restrictions on medium solar arrays, but nothing for large solar arrays. I don't know why that is. Handy Township's allowing no more than 20% of lot area may be covered by commercial solar. White Oak is no more than 50% of lot area, or 20 acres, whichever is less. I've heard from a few board members that we cannot stop them, and I believe this statement is referring to exclusionary zoning, and I take issue with it. Exclusionary zoning would mean that we completely excluded a land use where there is demonstrated need. Our entire township's demonstrated need for electricity is already met. We all have electricity. If you want to be generous and base our demonstrated need on 100% renewable energy, we would only need between 37 and 45 acres of solar. That's if we're 100% reliant on solar. There is plenty of case law to support this. It is not our responsibility to provide the renewable energy credits for Ann Arbor, Flint, and Lansing. I would also like to ask our board to hire the attorney that this lady talked about, Mr. Michael Homier from Foster Swift, to represent Iosco Township and assist with our wind and solar ordinances. Mr. Homier has been retained by Conway, Cohocton, Handy, and Marion Townships. It's apparent to many of us that our township needs Mr. Homier to help guide us. I've personally spoken to him, and he's also presented at nearby township meetings. The guidance that got us to our current ordinance is not going to get us where we need to go. Mr. Homier can help with that. Thank you for your time.
I spoke on Tuesday to the board, had a nice prepared speech, don't think it even went in one ear. I don't think we were taken seriously, I don't think myself was taken seriously, and I don't think a lot of people who were here on Tuesday were taken seriously. I'm shocked at the ordinance for the solar overlay of this township. My name is Susan Schultz and I do live in Iosco Township. When I saw the map and saw that it covers the whole township, what's the reasoning for that? That's ridiculous. So on Tuesday I spoke a lot about sound. I'm a registered nurse and I've worked in critical care units in the hospital and I've seen the effect that sound can have on people, not only physiologically but psychologically. So the sound definitely needs to be addressed in the ordinance. And I know a lot of people in here have already seen this video, but I want everybody in here who thinks that solar is a good thing and that we're gonna take care of the earth with this, you need to listen to this. Because right now, if our ordinance says 75 feet from a lot line, that's unacceptable. This is an inverter. This is an inverter in Lennon, Michigan, the huge solar farm, and this is what our township's gonna look like and sound like if something isn't done by you.
Is this gonna take very long?
Nope.
Okay.
That's what they sound like. I don't want to listen to that. No one here does. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I heard that last Saturday. Okay.
I got Jacob Polk, I live on Iosco Township. I just would like to, I know there's been a lot of talk about, you know, sound and all this stuff, but I'm actually concerned about the maintenance of these panels. What is the frequency of maintenance? I think we need to have something in our ordinance for the maintenance of them. If they get broken, damaged, who's gonna come out and check them? What's the frequency? Once a year, two times a year? Cadmium and lead leaking into in our drainage. I live next door to a field, and when we get heavy rains, I get a little, rain from the field. I don't want cadmium and lead rolling in my property. So I'd just like to understand what the maintenance plans are, if any. I mean, from all the discussions we had so far, I haven't heard anything about maintenance. And I think that's a big factor in this, and I don't think we should overlook that in our ordinance.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Richie Patton. I'm a resident of Iosco Township, lived here 4 years. I have to admit, it's the first meeting I've been to. I'm not that well educated on this topic, but sitting here tonight and listening to everybody's concerns has educated me. And I just want to also say I'm in favor of the moratorium that people are asking for, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know why everybody's so worried. Of course, this board is not going to let some company come in and put in equipment that hums like that and causes people to have deafening, brain-numbing, mind-numbing pain for the rest of their life. These people wouldn't do that, I don't think. And I don't think that this board would allow a company to come in and have cadmium or other toxic chemicals pollute our drinking water so that people get polluted and die or get sick for the rest of their life. I don't think that they would do that. I don't know these people, but they've all taken an oath to protect us, so I'm assuming they're going to do that. And quite frankly, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have a moratorium put in place. The Planning Commission has recommended it. At least give us some time for people like me and others in the township to get their arms wrapped around this issue and figure out what's really going on. It may have been in the papers before, but I assure you there's still a lot of residents out there that don't know what's going on. They don't know the facts, they don't know the harms that are associated with this, and we should know. And we should look before we leap. And I look up there at the board and I see what I consider probably to be a bunch of reasonable people, because otherwise I'm guessing you wouldn't have gotten put in your position. So I guess I'll just end my little speech with, I appreciate everybody who's been here tonight, because this has really been helpful to me, putting out all the concerns and the facts about what's going on. And I'll leave the board with the question of, why not? Why not put the moratorium in place? It seems reasonable to me, and if we don't do it, I guess I can assure everybody on the board that all of the residents will be asking you personally, why not? Why didn't we do this? Thank you.
Now I gotta say, nobody's ever clapped for me like that.
Moratorium and we'll clap
Okay, we're gonna go on our regular part of our meeting, adopting the proposed regular minutes from last month.
I move to adopt the minutes from January 19th, 23.
Second.
Moved and second to adopt the minutes from last month, January 19th. Additions or corrections to them? If not, call the roll for, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same, motion's carried. Clerk's report.
So I have the report from the Sheriff's Department's patrol in our area. So for all of you, we have a dedicated police officer 8 hours a week that patrols our area, random days, random times of the week, day, night, weekends, weekdays. And this is the report that they send me each month. So from January, so far the response to the dedicated patrol has been positive. Many citizen contacts and neighborhood patrols. For the month of January, we patrolled the township on the following dates. January 6th, Friday, January 6th from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 subdivision patrols, 1 business check multiple times, 5 traffic stops, 2 verbal warnings, 3 citations, and 1 arrest. On Wednesday, January 11th, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., 1 business check, 1 property check, 1 traffic stop, and 5 subdivision patrols. On Thursday, January 19th, from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 1 assist to the ambulance, 1 business check, and 1 subdivision patrol. And then Saturday, January 28th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2 subdivision patrols, 1 suspicious incident, 3 property checks, and 1 business check. The other information is I had the post-election audit was done on the January 25th. The Iosco Township's Precinct 2, both the AV Counting Board and all of the in-person poll location was chosen to be audited by the state's random audit check, and so we made it through the audit. They said I passed with flying colors. We actually hand counted the governor's race and the proposal, one of the Livingston County proposal, and matched the tabulator tapes exactly. So you can trust that the tabulators are working properly and the election process. So that's all I have at this time.
Amanda, treasurer's report.
We did not rent the hall in the last month. We're up to 1,270 trash carts. Everything else is pretty much the same from last month. Thank you.
Pay the bills.
So I will make a motion that, so I wanted to make one note prior to, if this is okay, I apologize. So Fowlerville Schools, just because it would have been a bill this month, Fowlerville Schools liaison officer, the schools received a grant to pay for this year's supplemental law enforcement. So we will not be charged the $10,000 that we normally are charged for the schools this year, the 22-23 school year. So just as a note, that's not on here. So I will make a motion that we pay $42,649.67 in township bills.
Support. Moved and seconded, we pay the bills totaling $42,649.67. Is there discussion on it? That thing with the liaison officer, that
Yeah.
grant is just for the 1 year?
Yeah, at this time, that's all they've procured is a grant for the 22-23 school year. But that's $10,000 that we're not being charged, and that's pretty wonderful.
Put it in the legal file.
Anybody else have any questions on this?
Pay for the lawyer.
Call roll.
Bailey, aye. Parthies?
Aye.
Bonville?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye. Committee reports. Recreation.
All right, there have been 2 meetings since the last one, our annual meeting to go over the budget and the February meeting. In February, I'm going to go backwards because in case there's any questions on the big one. In February, we talked about our current programs. Basketball is running and finishing up. There was an increase, just like all of our other sports, there was an increase in enrollment. Volleyball's begun. That one actually had a really big jump this year, somewhere in the 10 to 12% participant increase. So we actually had some difficulties finding places for everybody to practice. Brian, the athletic director, was really helpful in getting people put in the aux gym and the aux gym at the middle school and the regular gym and the Krieger gym. He's just moved everybody around in order to find time, and luckily we were able to do that. Soccer and baseball registrations are going on right now. Soccer at the moment is down a little bit, but that's only because all the numbers aren't put in. Like the sign up is closed, but the bills aren't paid. People aren't really considered registered until they pay for their position. So we expect that that's probably going to go up again, just like everything else was. And the only other new business we had there was they wanted to go over the escalation process that we have. We didn't change anything, but because we've actually had a couple of upset people, parents and or just general public, they wanted to put it out on the Department of Education, or the Board of Education website as to what that path is supposed to be. So who you contact, who you talk to before it goes over to the Board of Education. So no changes to it, but they are going to publish that out so people know which way to go. As for the annual meeting, there was, I don't know, I'm guessing nobody knows the change from the one that got mailed to the one that we discussed the month before. But Conway Township's representative pointed out that there were a couple of sports that the non-participating players weren't covering their own costs for. But it was really, really close. So they proposed that a couple of the fees get adjusted for those. It was soccer and basketball, one of the basketballs and both volleyball teams. They proposed changing those like $1 to $2 per registration from what we had talked about back in January. So everybody there kind of agreed that it made sense to try and get people that are not participating to pay their share so that we're not subsidizing them. So that is slightly different in those lists. Other than that, everybody was in agreement with what we thought was good for the budget. So we are asking for approval of that tonight. I think it's probably going to be about $2,000 annually increase for basically this education. So that's what it came down to.
I do have a question. So I apologize. I looked through it, and how do we figure out what our cost is going to be? You say $2,000 increase, and I think that, I write that down.
Like
but where do I find
So
what Iosco Township is responsible for?
it depends on our enrollment. It's a percentage of it.
Right.
So like the final number on that final budget, the final number on that budget at the bottom.
Is it the 12,000? So is this just us, the 12,000?
No, the 12,000 is the increase for the year.
Okay,
And we should
okay.
end up covering somewhere around 15% of that.
15?
Yeah. Every other bills that I've gone back and looked at, we range from 14 to 17%.
And that's just one time, I mean, we'll get it, I think we get more than one.
We get 2 bills per
2
year,
bills, that's what I thought. But it will be, still, the total will be 15% of the 12,000.
Yeah.
The total bill.
That's the increase, but total bill.
It'll be 15% of their.
15% of 100.
Total budget.
The total budget is.
So 15% of the 132,155?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So you need basically, our approval for the new budget.
That's later, yeah, it's later on in the,
Yeah, we did, we're,
You got it somewhere else?
it's on the agenda, yeah,
Okay,
under new business.
that it?
yep, that's all.
And Amanda, before I get to you, you folks, there's a few chairs up here, or you can go get some, you don't have to stand.
And don't be afraid to sit in the front row.
Come right up here, you can look at me. The rest of you folks want to stand, it doesn't matter. Okay, Amanda, do you have a
I do.
report?
A fire authority report, I do. I have attended 2 owner-contractor meetings. We actually had our last contractor-owner meeting because we are almost finished. The floors and finishings are all going down in the new fire station. Final inspections will be the last week of February. We'll have our C of O possibly by the early March. The project is still under budget, which coming this close, I'm really looking forward to being under budget. That would be fantastic. We have a meeting next week of the fire authority where we will decide when to schedule an open house and a ribbon cutting. We are hoping to do a open house that will be open to the public for you to tour the new fire station. I highly encourage you do so. It is a beautiful building that will serve us for many, 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 many years. I will, do you know where United Brethren is on Grand River? If
Between
you,
Gregory Road and UB, between Gregory and Nicholson on the
Almost.
On the
north
north
side,
side.
north side of the road. It's lit up at night now,
Yeah,
a big 41 sign, it's beautiful.
so that location will allow them to then drive into town if there's a fire or come out this way via Nicholson Road. It's a good location. We're very happy we found it. I will put on the website when the open house is. So, like I said, I highly encourage everybody to come see it. As far as fire calls, since our last meeting, there was 12 medical calls out in Iosco Township. There was 1 motor vehicle accident with injuries, 2 dispatches canceled en route, and 1 citizen complaint that was investigated.
That's it?
They put let's see, yesterday, Bank of Ann Arbor donated $5,000 that the fire department used to buy 2 training devices. It teaches them how to break into windows better. Yes?
Break out.
Break out windows, sorry. I am not a firefighter. I just represent the township on the fire authority board.
I just put one
and
on TV.
help pick stuff out. I don't go into the burning buildings, that's really. So yes, and so I think it'll be one of many of the training devices we now have on the new fire station. Good.
Planning Commission, Joe.
Well, planning commission is basically about this meeting, right? In a nutshell, the planning commission made a recommendation to the board for a 3-month moratorium on the solar ordinance to work on updates.
I would move to place a moratorium on, but I would, could we go with 6 months? I move to go 6 month moratorium. I'll do my motion and we'll discuss.
Here, here.
I second that motion.
Moving and seconded to place a 6-month moratorium on solar panels. Discussion. You said you were gonna start.
Well, I guess like listening to the county commissioners and that, they approve
Handies.
So maybe we should work with all of our townships around, maybe try to get a little bit more power to it and see if we can do a change. I do like White Oaks Township, I read that one, but that's what it is. So I'm in favor of moratorium to make a little bit the people friendlier to the neighbors and hopefully good for the economy.
Amanda, do you have anything?
I think, right, 6 months isn't gonna hurt anything for sure. Definitely investigate some of this stuff. I do think the fact that it's a special use has been missed a little bit in that we can put all those things, and you obviously want to see it as an ordinance, so that's fine. Special use is for each project you can say, we want this, 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 and this. It goes beyond the ordinance. But if you wish to see it in an ordinance, then I do feel like the special use of this has kind of not been understood, so that's fine. We can do it, you have to hold it till the next call public.
Okay, okay.
But that's, 6 months is fine.
Okay, sure, I agree with Amanda. I think a lot of people don't understand what the special use permit is. Not too many people, or too many townships have it. Which, if we say plant green trees and 20-foot berms, they either go along with it or forget it. They're not gonna approve it. It's just, and each one is handled a little different. Jody, have you any comments?
Same thing, I mean, that's how I felt, that, I mean, other than there's some obvious things that we should put in there, like the noise and that type of thing, that were missed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've discussed that a little bit.
Yeah, to me, it's just doing it's more of a comfort factor, I think, than it is something that's required to prevent the township from being taken advantage of.
Amanda, Julie.
I have a lot, but I will, so my recommendation on top of this is I would like to have a couple residents work with our planning commission. These people, a lot of these people have done so much research and know so much about this. John and I spoke with Erin, and Erin has agreed to work with our planning commission. I've talked to Erin. I know that she's not adversarial. I know that she really does have the best interest of everyone at heart. She's very easy to talk to, and I really think that Erin would be a good asset. She's done so much research into this, and I don't feel like we should ask the planning commission to reinvent the wheel and do all this research. There's probably a couple other people that Erin might be able to help us recommend that know a lot as well, so that we don't have to do all that research on our own. They're a valuable resource, and I truly appreciate the kindness. I so appreciate you guys came in. I prayed about this so much, you have no idea. You guys would come in and be kind. And so I so appreciate that, and I hear you. And I was here Tuesday, and I've gone to so many of the other meetings, and so I truly, truly appreciate your kindness. We're in a difficult position, and I hear your passion, and I know that it's so important to you guys too. And I really do want to try and make this right by everyone. So I want Erin, and I'm willing to take input on who else. No more than 2 other people probably to work with the planning commission. That people who've done a bunch of research, maybe ma'am that you're the nurse, the noise part is a big concern for me as well. There was a person from Marion Township, I know she's not part of our township, but she was an audiologist who had a ton of information on the effects of sound. So I don't know, I could find out who she is, I'm sure, but it's important that we do this right. To me, and yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I can't. I'm not allowed. But yeah, so I would really appreciate if we included like 3 other people to work with the planning commission who have done a lot of research already. I was at the planning commission meeting, and I think that I can fairly speak and say that there's room for people and knowledge to be gained. I'm speaking to Tammy, who is the chair of the planning commission. I hope that it's not offensive that you could use some people who have done a lot of research on this.
No, we are welcome. I'm a new chair, and many of you probably talked to me or yelled at me, okay? So, we live here too, and we do care. And I was trying to say that it's a balance. It's for everybody's needs. We don't want to ruin anything or ruin we love it here too, all of us, we all live here. And it's in a spirit of cooperation. and not name calling and pointing people out or saying dad and Shane and stuff like that. Because we tried our best. This is all new for us too, and we are learning, and we're not experts. None of us are, like you said. But we have to be respectful and kind to each other and work together and not be adversarial and point people out. Because I saw some of that.
Okay,
And we're all
so,
together.
So is
we
this in
have-
a form of a, so then, are you thinking this is a meeting or a workshop?
a workshop.
Okay.
A workshop as they work on the ordinance, or I guess I need guidance on that too.
Now, I'm just saying, I'm suggesting a workshop, because a
Yeah.
workshop is not call the public and
Right,
whatever. A
right.
workship is
Working, figuring
the-
it out.
like a committee meeting.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
I would suggest that the planning commission, if this passes, get together and decide who they want.
Yes, aside from Aaron.
And we would have Mark present as well, the consultant.
We can, yeah, Mark is out of the country until,
I know, so Mark.
Till the end of the month, I think, isn't it?
yeah. So,
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of the 6-month moratorium, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passed. Annie?
We are up to 4 permits for the year. 2 of those are for dwellings, no waivers.
And no complaints?
Not at the moment.
I gotta go over something.
I know.
You're
That's it.
done?
I'm done tonight.
Damn.
Yeah.
We don't have any unfinished business, I guess. New business, recreation, budget approval.
yep. So I have I think I scanned it in and emailed it to you guys, and then I don't know if you ever, I printed some, you guys should all have it in your packets as well.
Right.
The budget.
But other than what Jason discussed, the honest increase is the same as we looked at last month?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I move that we approve the Fowlerville recreation budget.
Support. Move to second that we approve the Fowlerville Recreation proposed budget. Any discussion? Call roll.
Bonville?
Aye.
Partings?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Parker? Daily, aye.
For the work they've done. They've done a lot for us. I think it's appropriate we support them. So I move that we approve resolution 2023-01 in support of SURF and their application for Robin funds.
Second.
Move to second that we approve resolution 2023-01 for SURF. They're looking for, trying to get grants, right? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. They're approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Board members' comments, anybody? Trustees?
The only thing I have to say is, I meant to say it earlier, is I agree with Julie. I personally appreciate the tone that was here tonight versus Tuesday. So it was nice to hear what people said Tuesday. I agree with our nurse that after about an hour of getting bludgeoned, you tend to kind of lose focus on what people are saying. So when people are civil, it is much easier to work together. So, thank you.
Alrighty. Amanda?
The treasurer's office was open Tuesday from 9 to 5. We did have quite a few residents come in, which was great to pay those taxes before penalty. Another note, I contacted Iosco Township's clerk. Their website, she has explained to me before, it's much easier for them to post their minutes, agenda, and it's easier for people to access all their previous information. They use Civic Plus, So I have contacted them for a price quote, because they also offer mass notifications. So people can go to the website and say they want to see they want the newsletter emailed to them, they want the agenda emailed to them. They can sign up and the program will just automatically do a mass mailing when we post that agenda. I've heard a lot of people through this that the follow the news and views isn't enough. Putting it, in clearly we've outgrown our website. We need something that's a little easier for us to manage on a part-time basis that we're here. So I'll see how much it is, and if it's something that the board is interested in. In the meantime, if you have a chance, click on Iosco Township's website, see what you think. They also have a really nice calendar, and shows you click on it, and there's all the events. And so if we could have something that's more user-friendly, I think that would be an asset to the township. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Julie?
I have nothing, sir.
The only thing I got is, I've heard some comments, a few people have, because I've taken some quotes to get a generator, and a lot of people saying, well, what the hell does the township need a generator for? They're only open 2 days a week. Well, the whole idea was for voting. And especially now that this other thing is passed, that the clerk is gonna have to be here for 9 more days to do voting, all our files, voting files, and the tabulators are all on, are electric. That's the only reason we would consider it. I just thought I'd throw that in. Other than that, call to the public. Don't everybody stand up and holler. Let's start over. We're gonna start there and come around again to you.
Sean Morrison, Conway Township. 3 different things. First off, it's great with the new fire station, but yesterday I was also at the county meeting last night. And on top of Handy's ordinance they had, it was highly recommended to send back to them to add to the fire station. First off, there's nobody there that's prepared to fight this sort of electrical fire when these solar panels do go up. So if it's an add-on that these companies have to pay for training, an add-on for equipment is the other suggestion for it. This young lady's husband was with Ann Arbor firefighters and spoke last night too on, the fear of trying to put these things out, and the power that's going through. But next off is the runoff from it. You need retention of some sort when these things when these things go up in flames, if they do, that it doesn't get in your streams, creeks, and your wells. So to me, you need to add something like that for retention on these things, the whole X amount of time for the fear of a fire. So, and for those of you who wonder why Conway's here, Conway was kind of the start of this thing, and I jumped in on it late and got on the board, but we got here to support Erin, and I think everybody here needs to support and give Erin a big round of applause because she's a lot we simply were trying to help her.
Thank you, John. Yes, ma'am.
Sarah Porter, Conway. Couple things. I think it's unfortunate that you felt you were bludgeoned for an hour, Joe. That is honestly unfortunate because at the end of the day, we went on and on and on in this meeting about what we were concerned about. And it wasn't until Sherry finally spoke up to make the motion to recommend to you guys to do the moratorium. So it took that much to get where we are today or we wouldn't be here. And there were so many legitimate concerns and people that have just showed up, and I hate to feel like you had to be bludgeoned to get there, but that, maybe look inside a little, because it shouldn't have taken that much. They're not asking for too much to just hit pause, just wait a minute. So I don't like that you said that, but at the same time, I guess we all got to a moratorium, so that's what we need. I'm hearing that we don't quite understand a special use permit. And that very likely could be some people in the room, I think I do, but I think that people are going to want to see the safeguards in writing in the ordinance, because if you leave it vague, it's going to be left up to a board where people may not be there to say, no, I don't agree with that. Arborvitaes, they're this big. Go look in Lennon. They're all this way and that way and dead. So they're gonna wanna see their safeguards that are for their protection. I also feel like you're gonna be up against utility companies that have miles deep pockets that this township probably won't be able to afford. So the tighter to fight, the tighter that ordinance is, when you create it, the less loopholes there should be, and your attorney should advise on that. That's it. That's all I want to say.
I just wanted to add a couple small things from what I've learned here tonight too. I'm just going to request that the planning commission, when you're researching this information, that you would check into what it does to the wildlife. And also, I did not know anything about the runoffs or the cadmium before, and that has me very concerned because whenever it rains, our yard gets flooded, and it stays there for a while. Or we have a low spot, like a big, half our yard is a low spot, and so all of that comes into our yard from the fields behind us. So that has me concerned. I just wanted to make sure that those kind of things get researched, and how am I gonna protect myself and our yard if that happens?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have couple things here. The first one is Conway and Cahockta Township both had this in special use permit, and on the advice of Mr. Hornier, they took it out of the special use permit to clear these new ordinances that they made. So I suggest you do get with him, because you talk about knowledge and somebody that knows what they're doing and a specialist, he's it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is maintenance has come up. 2 or 3 people were worried about maintenance. So I had a chance to talk to Adam Cohen, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Ranger Power. And he advised me, or told me, that 14 days is not sufficient to replace a panel. It's not enough time. So just so you know, this is the things and how they think and what we think. Because I figured like 2 days, a panel, boom, 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 right, is out of there. He says 14 days is not enough time to replace a broken panel. And then talking about experts, Herbert Eklund, a retired professor in mechanical engineering at North Carolina State University, has been a proponent of solar for 40 years. In 1980, he designed and built the North Carolina State University house on the university campus. The house served as a research and educational facility for 30 years. Solar developers prefer flat, but this is what he says. Somebody that's been in this and was a professor in office for over 40 years. Solar developers prefer flat land, open farmland, because it is less expensive to write the systems that they call farms to make them appear more friendly user to an agricultural community. People might wonder, for example, about the impact of solar farms on the value of the property. Mary Clay, an Appraiser Institute member, appraiser in Paris, Kentucky, had conducted a multi-state property value research project, has found that solar farms reduce values of neighboring properties from 15 to 30%. People across the country have been asking questions like how efficient are these solar farms, and are they an effective use of our land? It turns out that solar power is intermittent and has a capacity factor of only about 20%. Because of this low efficiency, solar farms require 70–80% more land than conventional power plants per megawatt hour. What's giving the solar farms movement? In a word, 30% tax credits from the federal government. For example, in North Carolina, Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the largest investor in solar because of $40 million of tax credits. Solar developers know that the tax credits won't last forever. This example is why the solar developers are so anxious to put in the solar farms as fast as possible. And he says, when the freedom to be able to walk away, they have the freedom to walk away when the benefits dry up. Given this additional insight, we must ask ourselves, what is the life of a solar farm? 6 years ago, it was 15 years. Today, it has grown to 30 to 35. In truth, the solar developers don't really know. What they do know is that solar panels efficiency degrade every year. When the solar developer decides to pull up stakes, what is the nation going to do for electrical power?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ben Smith. I live in Iosco Township. And the one thing that at least is concerning to me from I heard is that, well, obviously, I heard the word that we are not professionals and we're new to this, as the planning committee said. However, from what I've heard, there is a professional that we are recommending. His name is Michael Formier from Foster and Swift. And I would just highly recommend that you guys consider him. Thank you.
I just want to add another thought. I don't know if there's a way to do this, but I think perhaps it should at least be considered during this moratorium period. But if there are going to be these large plants come into our township to produce power, I would think that at least some of that power should go to this township and not to other townships or to Lansing or Flint or Ann Arbor. And that's fine, but we should at least get some of it. So hopefully that's also a consideration in the ordinance or some capacity when we're trying to plan these things. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to ask if I can propose or make a motion. Can I propose?
No, we're not gonna pay attention to it. You're welcome to, though.
I would like to request a motion that the $10,000 that was used for the Fowlerville School Liaison Officer be used as seed money to retain Michael Homier to assist the board with the development of our zoning ordinances.
Well, we're gonna get this over with. Somebody wanna make a motion to adjourn? What's the matter? Who's holler?
Yeah, if everybody's done, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Right at the,
Right there, I gotcha, yeah.
You did.
They call these solar farms, I think they're playing with semantics, it's actually a large industry. It's not a farm. This is farm community. What happens to us and our concerns are yours, we're neighbors. So we trust that you will look after us like you look after your own family. But these are not farms, they are large industry. That's all, thank you.
Excuse my voice, but what he said about the power, you're only required to have what is the demonstrated need for your township. You're not required to have energy for any other township, any other city. So it can be a small area.
Yep.
That's what Michael Homier is very experienced at helping you show. Just set aside a certain amount of area that's needed. And also, I believe it was said at Livingston, the Livingston County meeting last night, that the firemen, the training that was promised to Lyman didn't come about yet. So they were supposed to get training, is that correct?
Yeah.
And it didn't come about. So it should be set in place that the training happens before any construction happens. Because the same thing could happen here, and that puts people in danger. Also, one more thing that hasn't been brought up is that the solar panels are typically made in China by slave labor. So you're supporting that inhumane treatment when you purchase the solar panels. So to keep it to the very minimum is good for everybody.
I have one more item, price, it sounds like low hanging fruit, but if we plant arborvitae for the screening, the deer's gonna eat them all. If we plant spruce trees, this township is severely affected with that Rhizoptera needle pest. And my trees get treated every year by mayhews. It's very expensive. And if the neighbors have it, these trees are gonna get it, and it's airborne. And the young trees, they'll handle it for the first 10 years or so, but when you get in year 10 to 15, from my experience in my yard, I got 3 or 4 trees that are 20 footers that all died because of it. So, you know, I know the solar's coming. I've accepted it, but I really want to not see them if I don't have to. And I think the maintenance part of it with these trees, we really got to take a close look at that because spruce trees is not the answer unless they're going to be sprayed and maintained. Thank you.
Thank you.
One behind you.
I am just asking that someone on the board, please make a proposal or a motion to hire Michael Cormier from Foster Swift. It has been said many times tonight, nobody here is a professional, but he is a professional. He is helping our neighbors. And I'm asking that somebody please make a proposal to hire him to help us. Thank you.
And as a citizen of Iosco Township, I too would request the board look into hiring Michael Hormier. I heard him speak at the Marion Township meeting. He's very knowledgeable, he's very objective. You can tell he's just presenting the facts, and he was excellent at that meeting. The citizens were yelling at him, and I'm like, why is the citizens yelling at him? He's here to protect both the township and the citizens. Kind of look at it like insurance, you know, sometimes you gotta fork over a little money ahead of time to protect yourself on the back end. So absolutely, I would support that and request that someone make a motion to do that.
Thank you.
In your comment, man, of looking into it, I think that we will look into it, and especially with the planning board, we'll look into it with the group, I would say, and then they'll come back later. That's just my thoughts.
Do we have a website now that we can look at? Because we just now got cable.
Yes, we do. IoscoTWP.com.
What is it?
IoscoTWP.com.
TW.
Like township TWP. Like
okay. .com. Okay, great.
.com. It's number 13.
I think
Ordinance
you get a computer
13.
soon.
But look at everything. You will need a computer to go along with that internet, yes.
No problem.
Okay, ready? Motion to adjourn. Oh, is there one more? Sorry, I didn't see.
Because all you said is you will look into it, but what's the harm in
We're at call to public, and then it's motion to adjourn on the agenda. So I'm not
I think she's
moving
still
to that.
will, John.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Oh, where's that lady?
Oh, I'm just wondering, like, there really wasn't a motion to do that, that's all. Why can't we have a motion to discuss getting the attorney?
Because we're doing.
You don't need a
Planning
motion to
commission will
discuss
probably
something.
do it.
Well, it would look like good to me.
It's just not how it works.
It's just not very committed. It's like you'll kind of do it.
Keep us posted.
For anybody that's interested, I have a folder here with a bunch of websites on it.
I'm assuming this behind the
I just realized I think I was, right. That was me, and I don't know the same thing. That could be better. Yeah, I know.